Welcome, Mr. Secretary. Happy to have you back here before this committee. First of all, I think the gentleman just misspeak on the issue. Not all jurisdictions call themselves sanctuary cities. It's a political term of art. Some people appropriate and others don't. But it is clear that a federal district court in Oregon ruled that a county violated a person's Fourth Amendment right to be free from unreasonable seizure by keeping the person in custody based on nothing more than an ICE detainer. Now, that's a federal court that made that determination, not the Secretary of Homeland Security. A federal circuit court, the Third Circuit, ruled that because ICE detainers are not mandatory but voluntary, with all due respect to the gentleman from Texas and the law that he passed in 1996. That's what a federal court said in the Third Circuit. Voluntary law enforcement agents are free to disregard them. And that is exactly what we're doing. So instead of having the Secretary of Homeland Security here asking him, well, how many people have you tried to dissuade? The federal courts have said that the detainers are a violation and are not enforceable, regardless of what we here believe they are. And so why don't you just haul in the mayor of San Francisco and then haul in the mayor of Chicago and haul in the mayor of New York and just 300 jurisdictions and bring them before him? What are you going to do, lock them up too? Because they don't abide by the way you look at the world and how things should be enforced? These are local jurisdictions that have made a decision that as they carry out local police enforcement, which is a local issue, this is the way they want to do it. And that they're not going to cooperate. Now, what we can do, instead of having this hearing here, which will lead to absolutely nothing, unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, this will lead to nothing. This will not lead to a solution. Everybody will feel better. They'll get a few headlines. They'll put something on their Facebook, and they'll say, well, we put in a day's work. But it'll lead to nothing. Why don't we get to the business of making sure? Mr. Secretary, I'd like to ask you a question. Of the 11 million or so undocumented immigrants, did all of them cross the border between Mexico and the United States?
No. As you know, sir, a lot of the undocumented didn't come here by crossing the southern border. I mean, there are a variety of different ways.
Did millions of them come here legally to the United States? With a tourist visa, a student visa, a worker's visa, and overstay those visas eventually?
Some are visa overstays, yes, sir.
Okay. So that if you shut down the border, there would still be millions of undocumented workers in the United States of America.
Well, I think we have done a lot for border security. We could always do a lot more, but we have, over the last number of years, done a lot. But the reality is that there are millions of people here undocumented. I'm struck by the fact that something like more than half of them have been here more than 10 years. They're not going away. We don't have the resources to deport 11 million people. So in my judgment, we have to reckon with this population one way or another to make them accountable and to account for them. And so a lot of us want to see us address this population of people in a way that promotes law enforcement and is simply the right thing to do.
So 11 million people, if not one of them crossed the border ever again, there would still be hundreds of thousands, indeed millions of visa overstays, because the only border into the United States of America isn't, to the surprise of many probably, not the border between Mexico and the United States, if not LAX and JFK and Chicago O'Hare, where people enter into this country legally every day and have overstayed their visas. And that we need to also do something, and as we look at the broken immigration system, we should not just focus on that border, because I think focusing on the border really doesn't give us the true nature of the problem that we confront. I'd like to just end, because you were asked earlier about whether or not when people apply for deferred action, if they're asked if they're a gang member. Now, of course, if members of Congress actually filled out the forms, or help people fill out the forms, they'd know that they're asked. So I understand that if you've never filled out one of these forms, or your staff has never filled one out, you wouldn't know. But I just wanted to make sure that you gave the right answer, Mr. Secretary. It is asked. They asked them, have you ever, and that was your answer.
That's what we've directed.
But it says, have you ever been arrested for, charged with, convicted of a crime in any country other than the United States? So not only do you ask them about here, but you ask them about the country of origin, and you ask them particularly if they've ever been a gang member, and they must, and I'll just add this just so that we can, if you answer yes, that you've ever been arrested, charged with, convicted of a felony or misdemeanor, including incidents when you were in juvenile court, which usually are sealed, but not in this case. If you want to be a dreamer, you got to tell everybody about everything. If you answered yes, you must include a certified court disposition, arrest record, charging document, sentencing record, except for each arrest unless disclosure is prohibited under state law. So I just wanted to make sure that the committee understood that when people apply for deferred action, they not only have to, if they answer yes to all those questions, all of those documents must be present, and they do ask. And lastly, they have to be fingerprinted. And those fingerprints are checked, Mr. Secretary, by? I just want to make sure. Who checks the fingerprints that the DACA recipients?
I believe it's it's a combination of agencies. I believe that's an interagency process.
Interagency process, that's what I thought. So it's an interagency process. Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary, for coming before us this day.